Yo, what is up guys, your boy Raptors here, bringing you a quick in-depth guide video on how to play Zinx. In this video, I'm going to go over her abilities, some tips on her abilities, what to keep in mind about them, how to play her in mid lane and in off lane, some tips about that, some very good cards for her / decks and how to build her, and overall what I think about her in general and how she should be played as far as in gameplay value. So let's get right into it. Her first ability is Kitty Claws. It is a toggled ability. It is an empowered state of your basic attack. It does dot damage over 3 seconds. However, with this ability, you need to be very careful when you're using it because it does burn through your mana very quickly. In the beginning of the game, you can only get 3 shots out of Kitty Claws if you're going to use it to poke down the enemy support and carry. The biggest problem when using Kitty Claws is knowing when to use it offensively and defensively. Use it defensively by having it off so you can have your mana with dirty healing and being able to absorb more damage. Use it offensively if you're sure you can secure a kill on an enemy carry or another enemy, because it will do pretty good damage when you have it built up with some power, and especially cards like Tainted Magic or Hydroverser. If you choose to upgrade this ability, just know it will do more damage the more you upgrade it, but it also will consume more mana when you upgrade it as well. Kitty Claws is the first ability I upgrade fully because it does a fair amount of damage. However, I am very cautious when I have it procced and use it to secure kills only. You can also use Kitty Claws to clear out lane minions and set lanes by hitting the ranged minions with Kitty Claws and then rotating to another lane to help your allies. Ricochet Stun is also an ability you need to learn how to master when it comes to playing Zinx. Ricochet Stun is a skill shot and is a medium range shot, so you need to be fairly close to use it if you want it to be effective. Use this on enemy minion waves when another enemy is close to them, or use it in a team fight when the enemy is grouped up. The more ricochets your ability gets, the longer it will stun an enemy. This is very effective if an enemy is standing close to their minions. You can use it to hit the minions first, then it will bounce off the minions, and then it will stun the enemy hero for a longer duration. Also keep in mind, Ricochet Stun is a stun, so you can use it on channeled abilities and ultimates like Narbash's Crash Bang Boom or Gideon's Black Hole. Using it on a single target is not very effective, but it might give your allies some minor peel. However, when it comes to using Ricochet Stun, it is all about timing and being able to land your skill shot. However, keep in mind, it is not a long distance stun like a Stasis Bomb or a Rampage Rock. It is a medium range and you have to get fairly close to be able to use it. Bad Medicine is her wave clear ability. It does a line of AoE dot damage in that area. This ability is the most effective on lane minions and being able to clear out jungle camps. You can also use it to zone, but a lot of people are not going to be hesitant to cross over it because they won't take that much damage. The damage on Bad Medicine is not very good, and that's why she struggles to clear out waves even if you're building damage on her, because her power scaling is not so great. However, don't prioritize your Bad Medicine when you use it in team fights. Prioritize your Kitty Claws, your mana management, and your positioning when it comes to team fights. A lot of people are going to be moving around the whole place, so Bad Medicine is not going to be as effective and people are not going to be standing into it. However, if your teammate does manage to get a stun, or if you combo it with your Ricochet Stun, or if you use a Decker Cage, or if you use it on a person who is stationary, Bad Medicine can put in some damage for you. Last but not least, her ultimate is Dirty Healing. Dirty Healing provides you with extra mana regen the more mana you have missing. So the more mana you have missing, the more mana regen you have. The less mana you have missing, the less mana regen you will have. Dirty Healing is what makes Zinx very durable. Every time you take damage while this is toggled on, you will mitigate 50% of that damage by consuming some mana. However, this can be a drawback if you're very poor when managing your mana. If you want to deal out damage, you're going to have to sacrifice some durability by burning through that mana to be able to use your Kitty Claws. But if you want to be extra durable but not do as much damage, then you will not use your Kitty Claws and be able to last in team fights longer. The cool thing about Zinx is that mana is expendable. You can use it and burn through your mana to be able to use other abilities, and you will get it back very quickly. Another great card to pair this up with is Cast Converted, which will give you extra health regen upon using some mana. So as far as in roles, I think Zinx falls under the bruiser / tank front liner. She is very good in team fights and is very effective by being able to sustain in the front line to absorb some damage. She is basically like a ranged bruiser. Zinx is not very effective when she's by herself. She's only very effective and reliable when she's around her teammates in a team fight. She acts like a second support by being able to front line, and she also can deal out damage to priority targets as well. So as far as laning goes, I think she excels in the mid lane and the off lane. So when it comes to playing Zinx in the off lane, she will struggle to take down towers and to clear out waves. However, she is very good by setting lanes and being able to rotate to other lanes to help her allies. She is kind of like the opposite of a Wukong and a Greystone, who usually don't have to rotate as much and split push aggressively, harass heroes, and 1v1 other heroes in the off lane, whereas Zinx, she is played more like an Aurora and a Steel, who usually have to rotate a lot more to be used in team fights and have more effective abilities that can be used and benefit their allies. When it comes to playing Zinx in the offlane, she does struggle to clear waves and to keep up with other siege heavy heroes like Wukong and Greystone. However, the best way to play her is by setting lanes and rotating to other lanes to help your allies. She also struggles to take down towers because her basic attack scaling is very low when compared to a Wukong or a Greystone. However, the good thing about playing Zinx in the offlane, during the laning phase, you are able to get last hits by using your ranged attack. However, you need to be very careful of poke damage because you are very squishy, and she also has freedom to roam around and to help her allies when it comes to playing in the offlane. She's not super dependable on CXP since she doesn't do that much damage, and she's more dependable on getting CXP to be more durable during team fights. However, I also feel like she can have some success in the mid lane. She can use her kitty claws when she has built up some mana to be able to poke down the enemy mid laner. However, the only bad thing about her is that she can be very hard to contest river buffs with because she doesn't have an evasive ability to be able to get out of harm's way. However, when it comes to playing her in the mid lane, she does have access to multiple lanes to be able to rotate to raptor camps, to the right lane, to the left lane to be able to help her allies out. By playing her in the mid lane, you also have access to build her with more damage cards by being able to have access to higher CXP farm than you would in the off lane. So if you play her in the mid lane, you might have an easier time being able to build out more damage and do overall just more damage, whereas you play in the off lane, you might be lacking CXP and you might go for a more durable build. So when it comes to building Zinx, I really recommend building her mana, because with mana, she depends on it to be durable, and she also depends on it to be able to deal out damage with her kitty claws, and kitty claws does burn through a lot of mana if you're going to be able to use it. I also recommend building her with some minor barriers and guards to be able to mitigate even more damage, along with a little bit of health. Then also cards like Tainted Magic, Hydroverser that will help excel her power. Some other great cards that you can use will be Bubble Tap. Bubble Tap gives you a shield based off how much mana you have. Cast Converter is also great to be able to sustain by converting your mana to health regen. Also cards like Shockwave, which will allow you to be a front line and allow you to give some peel to your allies. Also cards like Teleblink, which will give her extra mobility since she doesn't have any form of escape. Also cards like Tainted Magic, Hydroverser will give her extra damage. Kitty Claws is very good with Tainted Magic as well. Also cards like Barrier of Will and Quenching Scales will help you provide more utility to your teammates. However, when you're building a deck for Zinx, keep in mind that you're focusing on her durability while also building some moderate damage. Also keep in mind that her mana does act like health, and it also acts as damage. The more mana you have, the more damage you will be able to output in a team fight, and the more durable you will be in a team fight. However, keep in mind that Dirty Healing can only be stretched so far, and it does only mitigate 50% of the damage you take by consuming mana. So it is always good to build a little bit of health and some armors to mitigate damage. So what are my overall thoughts when it comes to Zinx? I think she's a fairly decent hero. If anything, she's a pretty strong hero just because she's so durable. She can front line. She has a stun. She can interrupt ultimates. That Ricochet Stun could be a big game changer if you land it on multiple enemies. She has her kitty claws, which she can use to poke down priority targets like an assassin or a carry in a fight. However, the drawbacks about her is that she's going to struggle when it comes to clearing out waves in the off lane and the mid lane compared to other siege heavy heroes like a Gideon or an offlaner, Greystone or Wukong, which can hinder her from rotating to other lanes to help her allies in a team fight. Also, being able to land your empowered state of kitty claws is very important to land it on priority targets like a carry or an assassin. Your positioning is also very important when in a team fight because you don't have an escape ability unless you're rocking a teleblink, but then still, you need to position yourself in the front line to be able to tank damage. Also, you need to worry about your mana management. You need to be consistently aware of how much mana you have and if you can use that mana offensively and when to use it defensively. In addition, you also need to master how to land her Ricochet Stun. It is a skill shot, and using it at the right time can sway team fights. If you have a lot of trouble landing this skill shot, you're gonna have a lot of trouble playing Zinx because it is such a crucial part of her kit. And she's just a very advanced hero and high skill capped hero in my opinion. Even me, with a more experienced MOBA player, I had trouble managing my positioning, my mana, when to rotate, and a lot of things you need to take into consideration when playing her. And I feel like a lot of newer players are gonna have a hard time being able to manage all that. She has a lot of micromanagement within her kit, having to toggle your dirty healing, having to toggle your kitty claws. It's a lot to take in. It's a lot of micromanagement, and if you're a newer MOBA player, I really don't recommend playing her. You're gonna have a hard time playing her. But she, in the right hands, can be a very strong presence in my opinion if played exactly the right way. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the video and got some information, some tips, some cards, some roles, you know, everything I said. Hopefully you guys take that in consideration. But anyways, it's your boy Raptors, and I'll see you guys on Paragon.